I'm here today to present SB 252, which will provide the California Public Employees Retirement System and the California State Teachers Retirement System with a 7 to 12 year time frame to thoughtfully divest their current $15 billion of combined fossil fuel holdings that are causing havoc in our communities with pollution, Code Red for Humanity per the UN, and in some cases holdings that include egregious labor and human rights violations. Two of the most respected investment firms in the country, BlackRock and the Makita Investment Group, recently studied the impact of fossil fuel divestment on pension funds, and both firms independently concluded that funds have experienced no negative financial impacts from fossil fuel divestment, and even found evidence of modest improvements in fund returns. This is why over 1,500 institutions, including our own UC and CSU systems, have also divested. And even with the provision to add a 7 to 12 year off-ramp, the pension funds unfortunately remain opposed and continue to tout a net zero plan that will not be realized for the next almost 3 decades, and an unsuccessful strategy of engagement with companies notorious for greenwashing. Transparency at the least is needed with our pension systems. And in the bill language, it also empowers both pension boards to refrain from implementing this bill should they determine in good faith that it would impact their fiduciary responsibilities under the Constitution. So while relying on engagement may extract short-term symbolic gestures, fossil fuel companies like ConocoPhillips, which just received approval to begin construction on the Willow project that will siphon 180,000 barrels of oil a day out of the Alaskan wilderness, will continue their long-term extractive practices. I'll also note that CalPERS has $350 million of state employee retirement money invested in ConocoPhillips, and CalSTRS has used the retirement funds of teachers to purchase nearly $250 million of ConocoPhillips investments. Further, many of the over 100 fossil fuel companies the pension funds are currently invested in have in some cases egregious labor and environmental records. For example, the Morgan Stanley Climate Index measures a company's long-term financial relevant ESG ratings. Exxon, of which CalPERS owns $1.2 billion in holdings, is strongly misaligned with the climate goals to cap temperature rise. They are projected to go to 3.2 degrees, which they need to be under, of course, 2 degrees Celsius within the next three decades. Chevron, of which CalSTRS owns $580 million, is notorious for its decades of pollution in Ecuador and for numerous violations of the Fair Labor Standards Act towards its California employees. Aramco, of which CalPERS invests $158 million, is owned by the Kingdom of Saudi Arabia, which is notorious for human rights violations and ranked 141st out of 149 countries of the World Economic Forum's gender equity rankings. As our constituents are facing sea level rise, record-setting heat, endless drought, and our firefighters are actually fighting year-round mega fires caused by climate change, we must ask the glaring question, why? Why is California, the world's leader in climate action, continuing to maintain the status quo and a contradictory policy of fighting climate change while simultaneously investing billions in its primary driver? This is why we're here today with over 100 stakeholders in labor and environment and many beneficiaries themselves. Testifying in today, I have Dr. Claire Brown, Professor of Economics Emerita and Director of the Center for Work, Technology, and Society at the University of California, Berkeley. And I also have Ron Rapp with the California Faculty Association, representing a broad coalition of labor supporters. Mr. Chair, I thank you and I respectfully ask for an aye vote on SB 252.
Okay, thank you, Senator. And we will move to the lead support witnesses, starting with Dr. Claire Brown. Just a reminder, the way we divided this up, if you weren't here earlier, is when you have one or two lead witnesses, it'll be a maximum of 3 minutes each, and that was to accommodate larger groups that we had on another bill. So please proceed when you're ready. Thank you.
Thank you. Good morning, Senate Labor Committee. I'm Claire Brown, a labor and climate economist. As a professor of economics at UC Berkeley, I want to explain why CalPERS and CalSTRS must divest to fulfill their fiduciary duty. I'll address 3 main points. Point 1 is fossil fuel assets are a bad investment. CalPERS and CalSTRS corporate bonds finance fossil fuel expansion, yet the International Energy Agency has made clear that no investment in expanding reserves is a good investment. oil, gas, and coal companies already have fossil fuel reserves that will become stranded assets. Assets can become stranded very quickly. CalPERS $385 million and CalPERS $323 million in Russian fossil fuel stocks now have a value of zero, thanks to the U.S. government sanctions. Point number 2, divestment removes risk from the portfolio and does not reduce returns. Studies show that excluding fossil fuels from a portfolio does not harm returns. The MSCI World Index that excludes fossil fuel companies has outperformed its standard index over the past 13 years. A study showed that if CalPERS and CalSTRS had divested in 2009, 10 years later, their portfolios would have earned even higher returns by $17.4 billion. SB 252 affects only a small group of fossil fuel companies and less than 2% of the public pensions portfolio by market value. Removing this small group does not reduce diversification and does not constrain growth of the portfolio's value. Yet this small group of fossil fuel companies represents most of the financed emissions in the portfolio, and they're a threat both to the pension's financial risk and to their net zero goals. Point number 3, CalPERS and CalSTRS shareholder engagement has been ineffective. Big Oil is even backtracking on their previous climate pledges. Engagement primarily means voting on climate resolutions for directors or in the annual meetings, and CalPERS and CalSTRS often vote no against climate resolutions. Overall, 252 fulfills fiduciary duty because divestment reduces financial risk and decarbonizes a portfolio and reduces the financial support of fossil fuels. So please vote yes on SB 252.
Okay. Thank you very much. We appreciate you trying to hit that 3-minute target, and we'll ask the next witness to do the same thing. Mr. Rapp.
Good morning, Chair Cortese and members. Ron Rapp, I'm the Legislative Director for the California Faculty Association. CFA is a proud co-sponsor of SB 252 and would like to thank Senator Gonzalez for her leadership on this issue. The California Faculty Association, if you don't know, represents over 29,000 faculty, including tenure-track professors, lecturer faculties, librarians, counselors, and coaches on all 23 CSU campuses. The CFA's work on fossil fuel divestment spans several years and grew out of a resolution passed at our statewide assembly. The majority of CFA's 23 locals have called for divestment, including San Diego, Los Angeles, Bakersfield, Fresno, San Francisco, Stanislaus, Humboldt, and more. In addition, SB 252 is supported by several statewide unions, including AFSCME, the California Nurses Association, the California Federation of Teachers, and a number of other unions representing nearly 500,000 members in the public pension system. So SB 252 is a bill that the CFA is passionate about for many reasons. One, climate change is real. It's already causing severe drought, heat waves, increased wildfires, and rising sea levels. Two, the production of fossil fuels and the effects of climate change resulting from their use disproportionately impacts low-income communities and communities of color because their manufacturing plants are located in these communities. I grew up in one of these communities, by the way. The state of California has passed a number of pieces of legislation and issued several executive orders related to climate change. In this policy area, we are considered a national leader, yet our public pension systems continue to invest nearly $15 billion in fossil fuel companies, which is contrary to our efforts to curtail the severe impact of climate change on our environment and our economy. Although the public pension systems say they're working towards divestment in the fossil fuel industry, our members believe, and hundreds of thousands of members of the public pension systems believe that little has been done to address the issue. The members of the California Faculty Association believe it is time to end our investments in these corporations. They no longer want their retirement dollars invested in the very companies that are contributing to climate change. A key priority of CFA's mission is to ensure a secure financial future for our retirees. We are confident that divestment is financially prudent. A number of studies back this up. We're proud to be working in an expansive coalition to pass SB 252 with over 130 labor, climate justice, youth, environmental, and health groups on this important issue. It is for these reasons that we respectfully request your aye vote. Thank you.
Okay, thank you. That would conclude the lead support witnesses. We're going to stay on the support side of things for a moment here and ask if there's anyone in the room who wishes to step up and express a support position. If you do, this is the time to start lining up. Pay attention to the sergeants here. They will help keep order. You obviously can't have everyone line up at once, but we do appreciate a single file line that's moving forward. Now, this is the opportunity. If you listen to the prior hearing, they did a great job where you get to say your name, affiliation, and in this case, support. And that'll be the same for the opposition later when we get there. So please proceed. Thank you. And welcome.
Melanie Morales with the Green Line Institute in support. Good morning, Janice O'Malley with the American Federation of State, County, Municipal Employees in support.
Good morning, Tristan Brown, CFT, Union of Educators and Classified Professionals in support.
Chair and members, Austin Webster with W Strategies on behalf of the Faculty Association of California Community Colleges in support.
Melissa Romero with California Environmental Voters in strong support.
Miguel Alatorre, Fossil Free California in strong support.
Brian Cadena, the People for Clean Air and Water from Kettleman City in strong support.
Martha Turner, CalPERS recipient, strong support.
Sandy Emerson, Fossil Free California, support.
Megan Shumway, PERS recipient, in strong support.
Glenn Fieldman, CalPERS member, Fossil Free California member, very strongly support. Thank you.
Thank you.
Sheila Thorne, CalPERS member, retired CFA, strong support.
Thank you.
Pat Ferris, Third Act, strong support.
Thank you.
Diana Cassidy, Third Act, Sacramento, strong support.
Thank you.
Margaret Piper McNulty, Faculty Association, Community Colleges of California, strong support.
Thank you.
Miriam Ide, Fossil Free California, strong support.
Thank you.
Leslie Ferguson, California PEG, Professional Engineers of California Government, and a CalPERS member, strong support.
Thank you.
Julian Cluster, Youth vs. Apocalypse, strong support.
Thank you.
Greg Cluster, CalSTRS member and longtime CTA member, strong support.
Thank you.
Good morning, Christina Scarange with the Center for Biological Diversity and strong support. Thank you.
Thank you.
Rena Myers-Dahlkamp with Earth Guardians in strong support.
Thank you.
Magdalena Myers-Dahlkamp, she, her pronouns, almost 15 years old, strong support.
Thank you.
Maria Elena Rivera, I'm 20 and I am for Youth vs. Apocalypse and strong support. Thank you.
Thank you.
I'm Hondo, 13 years old, living in East Oakland, 8th grade, a member of Works for Justice. I support.
Thank you.
My name is Amado. I'm 13 years old. I'm an OUSD student, and my family does organizing with Homies Empowerment. Strong support.
Thank you.
Dana Ignacio, 14 years old, with Youth vs. Apocalypse, strong support.
Thank you.
Good morning. My name is Brian. I go to Urban Promise Academy. I'm 14 years old, and I strongly support.
Thank you.
Good morning. My name is Corey Jong. I teach 8th grade ethnic studies in Oakland. I'm a CalSTRS recipient, and I urge you to support.
Thank you.
Good morning, members. Kyler Joaquin here this morning on behalf of the City and County of San Francisco in support. Thank you very much.
Thank you. All right. That concludes those who are in the committee room who wish to express a support position in person. We will now go to lead opposition. Lead opposition witnesses can come forward. Again, if you have three. All right. So it'll be 2 minutes each for a total of 6. And you may identify yourself and proceed.
Thank you. Good morning, Mr. Chair and members of the committee. Joycelyn Martinez-Wade with the California State Teachers Retirement System. The board's policy is to oppose legislation that infringes on its constitutional fiduciary duty and investment authority in order to secure the financial future of California's teachers and other educators and invest the trust funds for the exclusive benefits of the trust's beneficiaries. CalSTRS believes climate change is a major threat to all business sectors, and we must prepare our portfolio for the global transition to a net zero economy. In order to minimize risk to the portfolio, we are not waiting. We are proactively taking steps now to reduce emissions across the portfolio in both the short and long term. We are investing billions of dollars in low carbon solutions. We are participating in solving for the lack of robust and comprehensive carbon emissions data needed to manage climate change risks in our portfolio. SB 252 moves CalSTRS away from the frontline efforts to manage risk and changes the focus to divestment, which ignores CalSTRS exposure to the broader economy and undermines efforts to reduce emissions and transition to a low-carbon world. The risks associated with climate change cannot simply be divested away. We have to do the work across the portfolio. There's no way to know for certain whether the portfolio will do better or worse with divestment of a certain sector. What we do know is that divestment reduces diversification of assets and limits CalSTRS' ability to shape corporate behavior for long-term sustainable growth, which adds risk to the portfolio. And past experience has shown divestment is not effective and can result in long-term losses to the fund. For these reasons, we must respectfully oppose SB 252. Thank you.
Okay, thank you for being here. Next witness, please.
Good morning, Mr. Chair, committee members. Danny Brown on behalf of the CalPERS Board of Administration. CalPERS recognizes that climate change poses a material risk to society, the global economy, and CalPERS investments. And CalPERS has a strong commitment to the reduction of fossil fuel emissions. However, as a global investor with fiduciary duty to our members and our employer partners, CalPERS does not believe that divestment is an effective solution to this problem. It won't change the demand for fossil fuels or reduce greenhouse gas emissions. Instead, our strategy is fourfold: engagement, advocacy, integration, and investment. Through active engagement with the companies in our portfolio, we can generate transitions to a low-carbon economy. We advocate for changes by joining some of the world's leading investors to create sustainable economies across the globe. We're integrating the risks from climate change across our portfolio to better inform our investment decision-making. And we are putting our capital to use to meet our financial returns to help drive decarbonization by investing in low-carbon and climate solutions. More than $17 billion of the real estate portfolio is invested in assets that have sustainable certifications, and more than half of the infrastructure portfolio is invested in renewable energy, energy efficiency infrastructure, sustainability certified, and carbon neutral assets. Finally, our global public equity portfolio is a diversified and largely passive index fund. Divestment is a form of active risk-taking that creates volatility and generates a tracking error, which means a divestment action could generate a positive or negative return. Some would like you to believe that divestment from fossil fuels will only result in a positive return based on a historical snapshot. We also know that commodities are a hedge against inflation, so it's no surprise that energy stocks have outperformed the market over the last few years. No one can predict the future, and that is one reason why CalPERS has a passive, diversified public equity portfolio rather than to try to time the market. We appreciate what the author is trying to accomplish here, but the CalPERS Board of Administration respectively asks for a no vote.
Okay, thank you. Next witness.
Thank you, Mr. Chair and members. Megan Subers on behalf of the California Professional Firefighters, representing 34,000 firefighters and emergency medical services professionals in California in respectful opposition to SB 252. Many of our members, as you know, are CalPERS members and rely on the system for a secure retirement. As context, CPF has opposed divestment measures across various types of asset classes because these measures do not align with the fiduciary duty of the retirement system. Similarly, we're concerned that SB 252 will drive divestment at CalPERS in a manner that is inconsistent with the fiduciary responsibility of the system and the interest of our members. Public employees dedicate their careers to state service, in many cases earning less than their counterparts in the private sector, with the promise of a secure pension waiting for them in retirement. It is the duty and responsibility of CalPERS and other public pension funds to ensure that the retirement system is funded. Because of the physical and emotional impact of the job, firefighters cannot simply decide to work longer or go back to work post-retirement if the fund suffers as a result of a strict divestment policy set by the legislature. CalPERS maintains a robust divestment strategy that empowers the system as a shareholder to utilize constructive engagement where consistent with its fiduciary responsibility, and we believe the current system in place at CalPERS appropriately balances their fiduciary responsibility to our members, and for those reasons, we are opposed today. Thank you.
Okay, thank you for being here. Is there anyone in person who wishes to express an opposed position here in the room? If so, please step forward, identify yourself, your affiliation, and your opposed position. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Chair and members. Cassie Mancini on behalf of the California School Employees Association respectfully oppose unless amended. I'm grateful for our continued conversations with the author's office.
Thank you.
Morning.
Just name, affiliation, and position.
Johnny Pena with the League of California Cities in respectful opposition. Thank you.
Thank you.
Mr. Chair and members, Paul Diero representing the Western States Petroleum Association in opposition.
Thank you.
Good morning, Carlos Machado with California School Boards Association, expressing our opposition. I'm also here on behalf of the rural county representatives of California and the California Special Districts Association.
Thank you.
Mr. Chair, members, Mike Monaghan on behalf of the California State Building and Construction Trades Council in opposition.
Thank you. Anyone else in the room? All right. Let me just pause and say a universal good morning to everyone who's shown up, and especially those testifying. Some of you have been nice enough to say good morning to all of us, and I don't think I've been reciprocating, so I just want to be polite to everyone. We are now going to move to the teleconference line, and this is where we have a maximum of 20 minutes for opposition and support combined. People who are calling in, they will have that same opportunity, name, affiliation, and support or opposed, as the case may be. So, moderator, if you can please queue up those witnesses, we'd appreciate it very much.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. For those who wish to comment in support or opposition to SB 252, please press 1 then 0. And as a reminder, please do not press 1 then 0 a second time, as this will remove you from the comments queue. We will now go to line 159. Your line is now open.
Good morning, Chair and members. This is Igor Treguk, Chair of the Alameda County Democratic Party. On behalf of the Alameda County Democratic Party, we are in strong support.
Thank you.
Line 174, your line is now open. Line 174.
Catherine Tattersfield, Valley Justice Coalition, strong support.
Thank you.
Line 185, your line is now open.
Yes, thank you. My name is Francesca Wander, a voting constituent of Senator Angela Gashby. I'm also a member of SEIU and of CalPERS, and a member of California Indivisible State Strong, Indivisible Sacramento, Indivisible YOLO, and Indivisible San Francisco, calling in strong support.
Thank you.
Line 93, your line is now open.
Yes, hi, Jennifer Tanner. On behalf of all 80 groups of Indivisible California State Strong, we are in strong support of this bill. Thank you.
Thank you.
Line 17, your line is now open.
Hi, Lydia Ponce calling in for Venice. I am with Society of Native Nations, both in Texas and in California, with the American Indian Movement. We strongly support SB 252, and thank you. Have a great afternoon.
Thank you.
Line 208, your line is now open.
Good morning. This is Cora Stryker for Climate Action California. Strong support.
Thank you.
Line 63, your line is now open.
This is John Bodorf, cleanersforkids.org. Strongly support SB 252.
Thank you.
Line 152, your line is now open.
Secure Carter on behalf of Sierra Club California in strong support. Thank you.
Thank you.
Line 66, your line is now open.
Good morning, Kathy Schaefer on behalf of the San Fernando Valley and Los Angeles Climate Reality Project, and as a CalSTRS member in strong support. Thank you.
Thank you.
Line 215, your line is now open.
Hi, it's Sonia Hernandez. I'm an environmental systems intern with Cleaners for Kids, and I attend UCSD, and I'm in support of SB 252.
Thank you.
Line 216, your line is now open.
Hello, this is Suzanne Hume, CalSTRS member and educational director and founder of CleanEarthForKids.org, standing in strong support of SB 252. Our children need clean air to breathe and a livable future. We are standing in support. We represent children, teachers, and families throughout California. Yes, on SB 252. Thank you.
Thank you.
Line 198, your line is now open.
Yes, I'm Deborah Silvey, CalSTRS beneficiary and member of Fossil Free California, in strong support of SB 252.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Line 80, your line is now open.
Good morning, Chair and members. Jim Lindberg on behalf of the Friends Committee on Legislation of California in strong support.
Thank you.
Line 37, your line is now open.
Yes, Christine Kimball Schumacher from Woodland, California, a member of Fossil Free California for a very long time, in strong support.
Thank you.
Line 147, your line is now open.
Hi, Jennifer Coney, CalPERS member and representative of 350 Bay Area Action, representing over 27,000 people, and we strongly support SB 252.
Thank you.
Line 189, your line is now open.
Good morning. My name is Kelsey Craig. I'm a member of the Professional Engineers from California Government, SECIT. I'm a CalPERS member, and I strongly support. Thank you.
Line 85, your line is now open.
Hi, my name is Catherine Webb. I'm with 350 Sacramento, and I am in strong support.
Thank you.
Line 62, your line is now open.
Hi, Pam Chirizo, a CalPERS retiree living in Walnut Creek, California. I'm a member of Sustainable Rossmore and Democrats of Rossmore, and we urge you to vote aye on SB 252. Thank you.
Thank you.
Line 166, your line is now open.
Hi, my name is Deborah Moore. I'm based in Berkeley, California. I'm representing Third Act National. We're a new organization. We have nearly 5,000 members in California, all of whom are over 60, many of whom are CalPERS and CalSTRS beneficiaries, and we strongly support SB 252 and urge.
Line 45, your line is now open.
Good morning. I'm Carlos Davidson. I'm a CalPERS pensioner and a California Faculty Association member. I urge strong support. Thank you very much.
Thank you.
Line 194, your line is now open.
Good morning. This is Deborah Garvey, PhD, a former academic economist, member of Fossil Free California, Indivisible San Jose, calling in strong support. Thank you.
Thank you.
Line 207, your line is now open.
Good morning. I'm Cheryl Auger, a CalPERS member, president of Ban Single-Use Plastics, and a member of Fossil Free California, and I strongly support SB 252. Thank you.
Thank you.
Line 90, your line is now open.
Good morning. My name is Roseanne Witt, calling from Thousand Oaks. I'm a volunteer with Third Act and a parent, and I'm urging you to vote yes on SB 252.
Thank you.
Line 35, your line is now open.
Good morning. My name is Leonard Sklar. I'm a CalPERS retiree and Professor Emeritus of Earth and Climate Science at San Francisco State University and a member of Third Act, and I respectfully urge you to support SB 252. Thank you.
Thank you.
Line 38, your line is now open.
Good morning. My name is Diana Curiel. I'm a CalSTRS beneficiary and a member of Fossil Free California. I strongly support SB 252.
Thank you.
Line 31, your line is now open.
Good morning, Chair Cortese. This is Jonathan Karp from San Jose. I'm the CalPERS Retirement Specialist for the California Faculty Association, and I urge strong support for Senate Bill 252. Thank you very much.
Thank you.
Line 196, your line is now open.
Thank you. Good morning. My name is Dorothy Thompson. I'm from Tracy, California, and a Sierra Club member, and I'm strongly in support of this bill. Thank you.
Thank you.
Line 145, your line is now open.
Good morning. This is Joan Lohman from Oakland. I'm a CalSTRS beneficiary and a member of Fossil Free California in strong support of 252. Thank you.
Thank you.
Line 167, your line is now open.
Hi, my name is Lori Rubin. I'm a CalSTRS beneficiary and a member of the Third Act Educators, and I am in strong support of 252 because there's no...
Line 43, your line is now open. We're going to move on to line 197. Your line is now open.
Good morning. Cynthia Kaufman, faculty at De Anza College, and I'm a CalSTRS member, and I'm in strong support of SB 252.
Thank you.
Line 61, your line is now open. Line 61, your line is open.
Good morning. My name is Rebecca Shirley, former teacher of 30 years, CalSTRS beneficiary, and Third Act member of the educators group. I urge strong support of 252.
Thank you.
Line 82, your line is now open.
Good morning. My name is Kristen Kessler. I'm a member of CalSTRS. I live in Ventura, California, calling in strong support. Thank you.
Thank you.
Line 222, your line is now open.
Good morning. My name is Erin Walsh, calling from Hawthorne, California. I'm a member of CalSTRS and Citizens Climate Lobby, and I'm in support of SB 252. Thank you.
Thank you.
Line 102, your line is now open.
Good morning, Chair Cortese and members of the committee. My name is Kathy Durbin. I'm a CalPERS beneficiary and a Fossil Free California member, and I urge your aye vote on SB 252.
Thank you.
Line 113, your line is now open. Line 113, your line is now open. We're going to move on to line 55. Your line is now open.
Hello, my name is Frances Macias, and I am a CalPERS member and a proud member of 350 Sacramento. I work for the California Office of Historic Preservation, and I am calling in strong support of SB 252. Thank you.
Thank you.
Line 195, your line is now open. Line 195, your line is open.
Hello, this is Dr. Margaret Chen. I'm a clinical professor emeritus at UCSF, and I represent the Bay Area Physicians for Social Responsibility and Climate Health Now, and I urge you to vote strongly for SB 252. Thank you.
Thank you.
Line 150, your line is now open.
Thank you. My name is Jennifer Bean. I'm a longtime member of AFC 2121 at City College of San Francisco. I'm now retired and a recipient of CalSTRS living in Oakland. I'm a member of Fossil Free California, and I wholeheartedly support 252.
Thank you.
Line 42, your line is now open.
Hi, this is Jane Bosberg. I'm a member of CTA NEA Retired. I'm a beneficiary of CalSTRS, and I'm also a member of Fossil Free California, and I urge strong support of SB 252.
Thank you.
Line 202, your line is now open.
Good morning. I'm Linda Hayward, a concerned grandmother, recipient of CalSTRS, in strong support of 252.
Thank you.
Line 143, your line is now open.
My name is Janine Black. I'm a CalSTRS member living in Lake Forest, and I support SB 252.
Thank you.
Line 218, your line is now open.
Thank you. This is Judith Small. I'm a CalSTRS participant, a retired teacher, a member of Third Act Bay Area, and the grandmother of 4 little girls in strong support.
Thank you.
Line 54, your line is now open.
My name is Robin Dattle. I'm the facilitator of the Climate Crisis Action Team of the Unitarian Universalist Church of Davis. We're strongly in favor of SB 252.
Thank you.
Line 217, your line is now open.
Hi, I'm Dr. Robert Gould. I'm president of San Francisco Bay Physicians for Social Responsibility, representing hundreds of health professionals in the Bay Area in strong support of SB 252. Thank you.
Thank you.
Line 175, your line is now open.
You have 10 left.
Thank you. My name is Lonnie Faulkner, and on behalf of Equity Transit and the Santa Cruz Democratic Central Committee, we urge strong support for 252.
Line 141, your line is now open.
Good morning. I'm Bill Vosberg from Santa Rosa, California. I'm a retired teacher and Sierra Club member. Strong support for 252, please. Thank you.
Okay, thank you. We heard that as support.
Yes.
Line 180, your line is now open.
Good morning. My name is Tillis. I'm from White, California, and I'm a CalPERS beneficiary, and I'm in strong support of SB 252.
Thank you.
Line 220, your line is now open.
Good morning, everybody. I'm Ethan Leshevsky, a young CalPERS member from Berkeley, and I strongly support SB 252.
Thank you.
Line 229, your line is now open.
Good morning. My name is Valerie Gazinski from Arcata, California. I'm a retired state parks and Caltrans biologist and a member of CalPERS and a member of the Humboldt Unitarian Universalist Fellowship Climate Action Campaign, as well as Third Act Humboldt. And I'm in strong support of Measure 2, Senate Bill 252.
Thank you.
Line 231, your line is now open.
Hello, my name is Mark Tavianini. I am a member of CalPERS and Third Act, and I strongly support 252. Thank you.
Thank you.
Line 77, your line is now open.
Oh, my name is Gordon Clint, and I'm a member of AFSCME Retirees and the Trellis Unitarian Universalist Climate Action Team. And I support 252.
Thank you.
Line 227, your line is now open.
My name is Peter Guastella. I'm a member of Fossil Free California, and I'm calling in strong support of SB 252. Thank you.
Thank you.
Line 225, your line is now open.
Yeah, I am Luke Wilson. I'm a member of Sacramento Third Act, and I'm also both a CalSTRS and a CalPERS beneficiary, and I'm in strong support of 252. Thank you.
Thank you.
Mr. Chair, there is no one else who signaled that they wish to speak.
Okay, thank you, moderator, again for a great job. We are going to bring it back to the committee. Before we go to committee questions and comments, just a housekeeping issue, and I do this so that the next set of witnesses and attendees are prepared. Other than one change, we will be taking measures in file order today, but the one change is that Senator Laird's bill, which is SB 623, will be heard after the current hearing, the current bill, and before SB 352 Padilla. So if you're going to be involved with the Laird bill, you want to start getting ready to come in after this SB 252. That'll still be a little bit longer as we have some questions and closing to do. And with that, I do want to come back to the committee. Maybe I could start off by just asking a couple of questions first, and perhaps that'll be more efficient. First of all, Senator Gonzalez, thank you for your leadership in pursuing what I think is primarily your objective and mine and many of ours, which is decarbonization and trying to get there as quickly as possible. Just a couple areas of clarification, though, that frankly I think were even brought out in the hearing, which is a good thing, that are kind of at cross purposes or at odds. And when I say these things, I'm going to cite what I thought I heard from both lead opposition and support witnesses. So don't take that personally if you're one of the persons who spoke. But on the lead support witness, Dr. Brown particularly really focused on whether or not these investments are good investments. I mean, she cited studies and so forth. I'm not necessarily disputing that or those studies, but my question really revolves around if you then fast forward over to Megan Stewart's representing firefighters, who really focused in on the fiduciary duty and the concern that it isn't really the legislatures or this committee's purview to get into the quality of those investments. That's not only the fiduciary responsibility, but the constitutional responsibility of the funds themselves, of those administrations. So I guess where I'm coming from, if I can just zoom back a little bit as a fellow legislator, as a colleague, you worry that something here is, and that kind of conflict, if you will, is going to make some of the investors, some of the beneficiaries of the pension funds, folks like the firefighters, pretty nervous because, and I want to acknowledge that there's a fiduciary responsibility off-ramp, if you will, in the bill, and I think the previous iteration of the bill had that as well, which was a comfort to many of us. But when you hear folks talking about this legislature needs to act in part because the investment's not a good investment in the first place, I think it makes people nervous as to whether or not the pension funds are really going to be free to exercise their fiduciary responsibility and make the investment decisions without us, hovering them or interfering with them. How do you respond to that?
Well, thank you for the question, Mr. Chair. And I think, first I want to reiterate what you just mentioned as well, is that this does not take away their fiduciary responsibility. It is written in the Constitution that, if they see this as unfit in the next few years, should this bill be passed, they can decide to delay. That's with 7 years as a time horizon. We also added additional 5 years if there should be an act of God or war, which actually I thank you for adding last year when we brought this bill forward. So that's essentially 12 years that they have to look at that. Now, we all know divestment policy has not been, this is not new. There's precedent. We have quite a few divestment policies that we've taken up. Iran, we've divested from firearms after Sandy Hook, thermal coal. We've divested from South Africa during apartheid. I mean, there's a number of different investments that we've said in the public interest per the Constitution, not just because Lena decides that I dislike oil. Of course, we want to make sure that the public interest is upheld. So I think that's all we're saying here is that we know that there's a public interest to safeguard our climate. We know that many of these investments are not going to hit the goals that are set forward. It's nice that CalPERS and STIR says that they're engaging, but how are they engaging? When are they engaging with who? At what point do they determine that engagement is unsuccessful? We don't have any of that. At the least, we should have transparency for our beneficiaries who are making less than $3,000 a month, and we don't even have that. So if anything from this bill, I hope that more transparency and data will come about so we can really get a full picture of what is happening. And again, if CalPERS states and feels that this is not working or, again, act of God, you've got 12 years to decide whether to pivot.
I appreciate your response. And just to go to the next question or concern, and I'll stipulate that from my perspective, and as someone who has co-chaired joint legislative hearings that are mandated by statute, when we've probed about the expediency or the speed of divestment or the pace of it, for some of us, and I'll say me included, I would share your concern that left on their own devices, they're perhaps not moving quickly enough. But then what we hear, and I would just like you to respond to this, is that from putting aside fiduciary duty and investment analysis and everything else, that there's some question or some trouble understanding how that divestment, those sort of capital investments, if you will, for lack of a better way to put it, really have a nexus, a direct nexus to decarbonization. And so just to put it in a transportation person's mentality, and I know given your other roles, you would share this knowledge. We're looking at tailpipe emissions being 60% of our problem out there right now. So just using that as an example, as we move forward, and I suspect we will be today, but how do we answer the question about nexus between directing this divestment and actually reducing something like tailpipe emissions in the state of California? I think a lot of people are struggling to see how does that actually create that impact, positive impact, and then how long is that going to take? Do you have facts or information on that yet?
That's a great question. And I think, first and foremost, we ask with this bill that in February 1st of 2025 that we come forward with a report. It's just a static report really looking at the list of current holdings, and that will continue year after year. But I think to your point, that's exactly what we want to do. We don't want this to just, for our divestment to happen, and then we're not actually decarbonizing like we said we were going to. So I'm hoping that through this avenue that we are able to get some additional information that shows us that we are decarbonizing. Right now, investing over $1 billion to almost $2 billion in Exxon is, I think their implied temperature target is at 3.2 degrees right now. I don't know how we decarbonize. They're not even on track to hit 2050 net zero goals. I've said this over and over again. 80% of these holdings that we have here from CalPERS and CalSTRS, which is very hard to find, by the way, most are going to have an implied temperature target at above and beyond 3 degrees, which is horrendous. So by pivoting, I think, to other investments, and again, I can't tell them what they need to invest in. They need to determine that. Or if they want to continue engaging in those companies that are doing well and actually showing, if you look at their 10Ks and they're actually investing in things that actually make sense, I'm all for that. But for now, we're not going to get there with the current portfolio. We just are not going to get there. I do not see that. We're going to continue to have wildfires. We're going to continue to have droughts, extreme heat, and then we're going to come back each year and we're going to say, what happened? Why are we investing nearly $15 billion in our demise, essentially? And so I don't see how we decarbonize fast enough when we have 2035, 2045 goals for carbon neutrality, for ICE, prohibition of ICE cars. I don't see that happening without us pivoting one of the largest investments, pension, system investments in the world. So I would hope that it would follow with additional reporting so we can actually track the decarbonization if this should move through.
Yeah, and perhaps that's an area of the bill as it moves along, I'm not sure it's the purview of this committee exactly, but to work on, those measurements and accountability, because I do suspect at some point people will continue to ask, our colleagues will continue to ask, about the nexus issues. How are we going to know, and how are we going to respect, and hold ourselves accountable to not interfering with what would otherwise be good fiduciary decisions on investment. The last piece that, where I wanted to go with this is something we heard a lot in the last session with regard to the previous iteration of the bill, which is, if you really want to get Exxon to move, is it better to say, look, we're just cutting off our pension funds entirely? Bye. Or is it better to somehow allow the latitude of these pension funds to go in there and effectively leverage Exxon and say, we haven't made a decision yet to pull our money, but damn it, if you don't come back to us and demonstrate to us that you're going to hit goals and shared values here in California that we've established and that our legislature established, we're likely going to make a move. You get my point. Yeah. It seems like we almost are cutting off the negotiation, before it can happen. And I understand on principle why we want to, sort of get out of fossil fuel investment. But are we undercutting our own leverage, I guess is what I'm asking.
These are all great questions, Mr. Chair, and I really thank you for asking them, because it's exactly the question that we have, is whether engagement is actually working. And I don't think, and I can't point to success and engagement in any of these companies. You have a Saudi Arabian company. How are we going to engage with a foreign company? Are they going to listen to us? I don't know. Are they really going to engage with us? And not just on the environmental aspects, but the human rights violations. Are they going to really listen to us when we are the leader on environmental, social, and governance, for the most part? What does the engagement look like? That's what I ask too. And I would love to have more discussions on how are they engaging? How many times are they meeting? Do we know what threshold, at what point over the decades do we say, okay, at the 10th year, we're going to stop engaging and we're going to start, lessening the investments? I mean, again, I don't know what proportion or what percentage we should be doing that at, but the engagement piece is very important. I don't want to cut it off if it's going to move somewhere, but these folks aren't moving anywhere. They continue, like I said, the Willow Project, ConocoPhillips. How are you continuing to invest millions and billions of dollars in exploration in Alaska when California is investing in you and we're saying, no, we want to stop fossil fuel reliance? It just runs contradictory to what we're doing, and I want to make it make sense, and it does not make sense to me. But I think from this discussion, I, again, would love to engage CalPERS and STRS to talk to us about their engagement and give us more data on what they're doing, again, for the beneficiaries to understand where their investments are going and whether we need to pivot or not, because it's not working. Their Climate Action 100, apparently it's something that they use for engagement, but to me it looks like greenwashing, quite honestly. A lot of the, as mentioned by Dr. Brown, a lot of the direction that they give is to continue to explore and expand. It's very contrary to our state's goals. So I'm just wondering the same.
Right. So, and again, I know I'm not the only one that would stipulate amongst your colleagues that things are not moving quickly enough, and that's in large part because of the crisis that's upon us and the need to address it as immediately as possible. But again, going forward, I would suggest, and I'm happy to be a part of it, by the way.
Thank you.
Continuing to work with the funds on what tools they might need to have acknowledged in the bill that would allow them to continue to utilize leverage that they can demonstrate to you and to us is effectively working. I don't know what that is either. I don't think we ever got that far in our joint legislative hearings last time around. By the way, I'd love to work with you and your staff as we approach the next round of joint legislative hearings so we can ask some of these accountability questions, the pace of change questions, perhaps a little more granularly than we have in the past. But again, there's a number of old sayings, right? Don't want to cut your nose to spite your face or whatever. Take your pick. I think if we all want to get there quickly, there's at least a critical nuance here that we try to figure out with these funds where they need us to allow them some leverage, as opposed to sort of just a blanket ban or moratorium. That said, I just want to get those comments. Yes. I really appreciate you responding to those questions. I know there were questions that between me and committee staff that we just felt would be somewhat unresolved going forward. But this is an early stage of the process, and as certainly as committee chair, try to take a policy on something that is moving forward like this to let it continue to get beyond this 5-person committee and into a larger setting for debate. Any other comments or questions, Senator Laird?
Thank you. It might be a five-person committee, but it's just you and me right now. Yeah. So I think I spoke more passionately last year and would read those comments into the record again. I think that the important thing about this bill is the urgency. Senator Gonzalez and I were 2 of the 12 senators last year that went on our climate working group, and we broke the logjam in the Senate and approved the governor's bills, everyone in our package, this bill, a corporate disclosure bill, and I think it reflected the urgency that we all feel right now. Well, and my district is like everybody else in the wild swings, going from 925 of my neighbors losing their homes to some of the very same people being flooded out and not having rebuilt their homes from the fires while they have just lost everything through floods and mudslides, and the urgency of climate change is upon us. And I think what this bill does, in concert with the comments and the questions of the chairs, it forces the issue. It means there will be a discussion on what the leverage is. There will be a discussion on how we actually move in the appropriate way. And having been active in the apartheid divestment in the 1980s, leading my city when we did it and the voters voted to approve it, we did not see the things that people predicted coming from that. And the amendment that the chair suggested last year, giving 12 years goes through any of a number of economic cycles, a number of ways, and I think gives the systems the time to react appropriately within their fiduciary responsibility. And so, and the author clearly has indicated that her goal is forcing this issue. Her goal is having the discussions in a way that the leverage is maximized. And I trust will continue to work toward that through as this bill moves. So I'm going to support this bill, and I would move the bill.
Thank you, Senator Laird. And before we conclude, let me just say, again, on the climate side of the issues here, and frankly, the perspective that Senator Laird just expressed, and I think I said a number of times in the question and answer, I'm quite supportive of trying to accelerate where we're going here in terms of decarbonization, and therefore, I'm in favor of getting the bill out of committee today. I'll be supporting it. I do want to acknowledge, importantly, and I hope opposition and support hears this who have been involved in the hearing today. This committee has its own responsibility and its own jurisdictional responsibility to first and foremost protect the workers who are the beneficiaries of those pension funds from being undercut or to find themselves, at 65 or 70 years old or beyond someday with a pension system that is no longer solvent enough to keep them afloat, which presents a whole other set of problems. And with the age of older adults doubling down over the next 10 years, we do have a little bit of a conflict there. We have a tension there, and it's a pretty serious tension. And I don't think it's just with these pension funds. I think we ought to really probably be focusing on recalibrating the entire state budget for safety net services for older adults, because I guarantee you right now,
looking at me,
because you and I are the 2 oldest adults in the room right now. That's why. And we've both seen how this has been progressing over the years as local government officials and as legislators. It isn't something that's been addressed, frankly, I don't think, in the broader budget or in the pension funds. How in the heck are we going to take care of senior nutrition meals, for example, and that isn't in the pension funds, but those are the kind of issues we're facing as a government and as a society with a population that's going to be double what it is, and when we're barely making the cost of those, of that support right now. And I think our pension funds are rightfully concerned about how are they going to do it. So that said, I want to make sure folks here, at least for me as the chair of the committee, that we get it. We understand what our responsibility is, to folks who are on the other end, on the receiving side of these investments when it comes to the payoff. But I do repeat what I said earlier. The bill needs to move forward, and we need to give it an opportunity for the further vetting that Senator Laird was just talking about. So with that, I'll ask the assistant to call the roll. Your opportunity to close. Very important opportunity.
I just wanted to say thank you so much, Mr. Chair. You've been very, very thoughtful and mindful through this process. I know it's not an easy discussion to have, but just know that we do so we come with facts, with economic data, and we do so with the understanding that many of our families, my dad was a truck driver for 30 years with the Teamsters. He has a pension. I care deeply about people with their pensions. I want to make sure that they are safe, that they feel comfortable in their future years or their current years and receiving that pension, but that the pensions are not just speaking to our values, but actually gives them a good return as well, knowing that there's long-term plans, not just the short-term volatile, current investments, but the long-term is what we want to look at for, my father's future, for all of the folks that you see here, yourselves, and even myself. So with that, I really thank you again, and I look forward to working with you, and I respectfully ask for the aye vote.
Okay, that's it. Now we'll ask the assistant to call the roll.
File item number 2, SB 252. The motion is due pass, but first we refer to the Committee on Judiciary. Senator Cortese.
Aye.
Cortese, aye. Senator Wilk. Senator Durazo. Senator Laird.
Aye.
Laird, aye. Senator Smallwood Cuevas. This bill is currently on call and has 2 aye votes.
All right, so the bills will remain on call to give everybody an opportunity to vote today. That said, thank you again, everyone, for participating.